Welcome back, everyone. So I hope you had a chance to learn a bit about John Maynard Keynes and the context that he was addressing. As I said, the context he was addressing was the Great Depression and the difficulty economists had in figuring out what was going on. Because according to economic theory that you have learned in micro, there should be no unemployment. All you need is for markets to clear, right? What Keynes pointed out is that theory depends on that idea called ceteris paribus. Other things are equal. So we are now going to remind you of what a very simple model, we are going to complicate this model a lot more from next week on. What is the basic idea of a free market economy? No government, nothing. Here are your households, here are your firms, and they interact in markets. That's what a free market economy is. You interact in markets. Households buy stuff. And when they buy stuff, they provide revenue to firms. And in exchange for that, they get goods from firms. So I give the firm money. In exchange, in this dashed arrow, I get my apples from the firm. The firm receives my revenue. When I buy an apple, the firm gets the money I pay for the apple. In exchange, what does the firm give me? The firm sends me the output, right? Sends me the apples. On the other side, I've got input markets. How do I get the money to buy stuff? I earn that money by selling inputs. I sell my labor. That is how most of us do this. We earn a wage. We sell our labor. Some of us are rich. We get our income from trust funds as interest. Some of us own property. We get it as rent. But the basic categories of income are wages, rent, interest, and profit. Wages, rent, interest, profit. Oh, 4 things I can sell. And I will supply to the firm an input, whether it is I supply the building in which the firm produces things, whether I supply my own labor, whether I supply the capital the firm is going to use to engage in production, whether I lend the firm money, whatever. Conversely, the firm pays me my incomes, which the firm calls its costs. So my income is the same thing as the firm's costs, pretty much. And what the firm is doing is that it's paying me this stuff, and in exchange, it's getting inputs from me, which it's going to use to produce output. So the circular flow is the idea that firms pay households for inputs and use those inputs to produce stuff, which in turn they sell households. Households sell inputs to firms to get income, and in turn they use that income to buy outputs. So this is a circular flow. And so what this means is that what I can do in terms of buying stuff in this output market kind of depends on what I can earn selling stuff in this input market if I'm a household. Think about this. Whether I can buy household items like apples, groceries, pay my rent, kind of depends on whether I can sell my labor and get a job, right? So what I can earn in the input market shapes the demand I provide to firms in the output market. Conversely, whether the firm hires me in the input market kind of depends on whether the firm can sell the stuff in the output market. If I can't sell my apples, I'm not going to hire you to pick them, right? So the first thing Keynes points out is, if you look at this, we are no longer in the world of ceteris paribus. We are no longer in the world where I can look at one market at a time. So, given what we know about the market model and thinking about the circular flow, let's put that together. I have 2 markets. Here is my output market. The price of a good is P. The quantity of a good is quantity here is supply, here is demand, right? And then here, next to it, is the input market, and let's focus on labor. So in this case, the quantity of the good is labor. And in this case, the price of the good is W. Here is my supply of labor, here is my demand for labor. And let us say I start here. I'm going to start at W0. This excess supply of labor is what we often call unemployment. According to the model, in order to eliminate unemployment, what do I need to do? I need to let the price of labor drop, which means I have to let your wages drop. So wages start to drop. But take a look here. My wages are dropping. That means I don't have as much income. And if I don't have as much income, I'm not going to buy as much of the good. I'm going to call this D prime. My demand for labor, for output drops. If I don't have wages, my wages are dropping, I'm not actually going to buy that many apples. Now here's a question for you. If I am the firm, demand for apples is dropping, I can't sell apples. Will I actually buy more workers? And the answer is actually no. Demand for output is dropping, and what's happening is my demand for labor correspondingly drops. So what Keynes is pointing out is a lot of the action takes place in this area that you have been taught to think of as shift of the curve. And ceteris paribus makes you think that, I'll go through this process, then carefully and leisurely a curve will shift. Then I'll go through the process and choose my technology, and carefully and leisurely another curve will shift, because it's all long run. It'll take its time. And Keynes said, in the long run, we are all dead, because nobody knows how long a long run is. A long run could be 2 years. Okay, that makes sense. I can wait. But what if a long run is 30 years, 15 years, 10 years? You graduate today at age 20, 15-year long run, before you get a job, you're age 35. What kind of society is this? How are people supposed to live like this? So what Keynes was pointing out is that the underlying problem is that labor markets clear by wages dropping. And if wages drop, you don't have the income to buy goods. And if you cannot buy goods, firms can't sell them. And it does not matter how much you drop your wages. If I cannot sell my goods and I am a smart profit maximizing firm, I am not going to hire you. So the mechanism by which unemployment is supposed to end is a mechanism that triggers a decline in the demand for goods. And a decline in the demand for goods actually means no sane firm will go out and hire more people if it can't sell the stuff it's already got. This means policies based on the free market that say, hey, unemployment, fix it by reducing the wage. The reason people are unemployed, minimum wage is too high. The reason people are unemployed, they're asking for too much money. Let them drop their wage, let them behave themselves, let them just work hard. It's actually not a moral issue. It's just like, from a firm's perspective, it's nonsense. And this is what I meant when I said that Keynes pointed out he was not a radical. He was just like, I'm a guy who's making my money in the stock market, and I'm trying to earn money from firms that sell stuff. And if you've got a policy that says, all these workers, they just need to accept lower wages, who am I supposed to sell the stuff to? And if I can't sell the stuff, it doesn't matter what I think morally about whether these people deserve a wage or not. If I can't sell the stuff, I don't have money. And that's why I want to support them. Because eventually a firm does need somebody to buy the things it makes. And this is the basis of Keynes's intervention that says, when you look at the economy as a whole, which is not just individual markets, ceteris paribus, but markets which interact, no sane capitalist is going to be okay with an economy where you allow wages to drop to the point where people cannot buy things. Most of you have gone through COVID. And you know that firms are not going around saying, how lovely wages will drop. Firms are saying, who's buying my stuff? This was the Great Depression. And Keynes said, do not follow a policy of allowing wages to drop. Now, what's interesting is that because of what we now call neoclassical economics, often called free market economics, neoliberalism, Thatcherism, Reaganism, whatever you want, the idea has been that unemployment is basically because wages are too high. And that was the idea in the Hoover administration. And what they tried to do at the start of the Great Depression, before Franklin Delano Roosevelt, was to say, unemployment, how do you solve it? Economists tell me wages are too high, that's why you got unemployment. Hoover cut the wages. And the moment he did that, that recession became a depression. He took a terrible situation, he made it 10 times worse. And that was what Keynes was terrified about. He's like, it's bad enough. And what you guys are doing in this panic of, oh my God, I'm not making money, I am a firm, it's a depression, I don't have profits. Oh, I don't have profits, what do I do? It's these workers, cut their wages. Because, that's what you do. If you're a firm, you're not selling stuff, you're going to be like, my costs are too high, I'm not selling stuff. Cut those wages, lose my costs. It's like, you guys are insane. Because you do this, you're actually going to dig a hole for yourself. You need to understand what is going on so you can fix it properly. So this was Keynes's major insight in the general theory, not the single market theory, not the ceteris paribus theory, not the microeconomic theory, the general theory of interest, employment, and money, which means he's asking you, what is the theory where I think about how interest, which is one of the key areas of income, right, for financial markets, employment, wages, one of the key areas of inputs in terms of labor markets, money, one of the key areas of government policy around finance. How does that work out when I look at the economy as a whole? So macro, which is what we're going to do from now on, is not about one market, equilibrium, supply equal to demand. Macro is all markets put together, interacting with each other. How do I make sense of this? Now, as you can imagine, if I try to make sense of this by shifting these curves back and forth, it's a mess. I need a new way to depict this imagination. And that means I'm going to go back to that circular flow. That was really useful as a way to think about how I went from this market to that market, to this market, to that market, to this market, to that market. That circular flow helped me figure that out. So with Keynes, we're going to start macro by going back to the circular flow. And we're going to learn about the first thing we need to do, which is how do we come up with some data and measures, not to look at a single market, because I know how to look at a single market, supply of apples, demand for apples, but how do I come up with data and measures for the whole economy? And you're therefore going to learn next week about the GDP, about unemployment, about price levels, the consumer price index, the interest rate, and we're going to learn how to measure all these things so that we get a big picture for the economy as a whole, and then we're going to use that big picture to do our macro analysis. So I will see you next week. Thank you.